country that used to export ag products until the Soviet invasion in 1978, and we need to help restore agriculture. We made agriculture the top non-security priority in this administration. In the previous administration, they were spending more money destroying poppy crops than agriculture. You saw that yourself when you were down in the South, how we're not going after the poor poppy farmers anymore. We're going after the big drug lords and interdictions. So we have to make all these changes. The people see these changes, and but we also have to produce the most critical issue, which is security. And security is the key.
When I was in Kandahar, I saw all of these police checkpoints being set up around the Kandahar city, police substations within the city, obviously the military operations around there, all this work being done on law and order and security. But what happens when those police arrest people? Right now, Kandahar has on the books authorization for something like 87 judges. They've only got 9 judges actually working. So you've got this security thing happening.
And they're way underpaid.
And they're way underpaid, and they're in danger. So you've got the security thing happening, but you don't have civilian government coming in behind it. And so if you're a Kandahari civilian who's got some dispute that you want resolved, a land dispute, livestock or something, the Taliban is frankly offering a much better service. They have a reputation for less corruption, and there isn't the kind of weight that you have in a whole province of 1 million people with 9 judges.
Although the third form of justice can be pretty brutal.
Yeah. But if I wanted to get something resolved, would I want to go to the Afghan government? Not there. It's hard to imagine that getting better over the course of the next year.
And that's why one of the most important programs we have, and one of the most difficult, is the rule of law program. I say it's difficult because there are many different types of law in Afghanistan. Traditional law, modern law, Sharia law, which can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, and this brutal but swift justice system of the Taliban you described. And we're all mindful of the fact that the Taliban used this issue you just described as their path to power in 1992 to 95. So we've invested a lot of money in this. And again, there isn't much to show for the money that was invested prior to last year. Yeah. And so this program is under intense scrutiny, and we've significantly revamped it. You
famously started your diplomatic career during the Vietnam era, but we tried to do counterinsurgency in Vietnam too, pretty explicitly. I mean, we even called it that, and we don't think about that war that way when we look back at it. But when you look back at those efforts all those years ago, do you really have confidence that a foreign country can help create a state somewhere else, that we really can stand up an Afghan government? Obviously, we can create security and hope that they fill in that room with their own interest in governance, but can we really help build a government there?
I think we can if we do it right, and I hope we've learned some lessons since Vietnam, which is now a long way in the past, and it ended, after all, 35 years ago this year. But there are some obvious structural similarities, but there is a fundamental difference. And the fundamental difference is the one you and I just have already mentioned. It matters to our homeland security. Vietnam did not, although at the time the administrations in power did say it did, but they were wrong. Now, to your core point, we need to be always mindful of the fact that we are there to help the Afghans take over their own government, take over responsibility. We are not there to replace the Afghans. That's difficult in a situation like the one you just described with judges in Kandahar. That's a perfect example of the problem. We're not going to replace the judges, but we have to give them the support to get those judges trained, paid, with facilities. A lot of these judges, you mentioned, don't even have phones. They have no protection. They're very vulnerable. It's a process which is not easy, and you only embark on it if you decide that it is absolutely critical of the U.S. national interest, which it is.
When we come back, Richard Holbrooke tells me what he really thinks about American journalists. Got a little awkward. That's coming up next. Stay with us.